I'm not a parent, but I am concerned for children growing up in modern society. I was a young child in the 1980s and a teenager in the 1990s, and the world was much simpler back then. Particularly in the 80s, there was no internet, we only had 4 TV channels but somehow needed a magazine to navigate our way through them. And one of my favourite cartoons when I was very young was called Danger Mouse, and that's just dropped on Netflix. So a few nights ago I watched the very first episode and I realised something. In the 1980s, kids were fucking easy to entertain. But children growing up today, they are bombarded with information and ideologies. It's all over social media, in particular the condensed lunacy that is TikTok, as well as having things forced on them by overly woke parents and teachers, and we'll get to them. In fact, almost all the parents I know who have teenage children, or at least young teenage children, almost all of those kids are coming home from school questioning their gender or saying they want to be non-binary they-thems. It's clearly social contagion and it's not bloody normal. In the video I posted yesterday, there was a particularly annoying American substitute teacher who's been sacked for pushing trans ideology onto prepubescent children via her TikTok account. Now, what's coming up is part of her reaction video to have being fired. Not the full thing because it is too painful to watch. Now, she's claiming it's a hate crime, not because multiple students and parents put in complaints about her TikTok content, but because the person who sacked her was a straight cis white man. Now, do I care that she's been fired? I've checked in the box where I keep all my fucks, and sadly it is bereft. I have no fucks left to give.
I was recently hate crimed for being queer, and as a result of me being hate crimed for being queer, it ultimately led to me being fired from my job as a high school substitute teacher. I hate making content like this. I love making people laugh and smile and forget about all their troubles. I love helping people feel comfortable in their bodies and always preach that there's nothing ever wrong with being you and that you should always identify and do the things that make you happy and feel most like you. I love learning about my community and I love helping educate others about my community too. What happened to me wasn't fair to me or to my students that I helped make a better and safer environment for every single day. Right now in America, queer teachers are under attack and are constantly being targeted and kicked out of the classrooms for being who they are and for helping students.
Where to begin? She says she created a safe environment for children. This is the same woman who was advising children to chemically castrate themselves, and that she likes to make people laugh. I've seen a few of her TikToks and I felt more amused when my doctor told me I was going to need surgery. And as for queer teachers being under attack, is it because they're queer, or is it because these particular teachers are sharing their sexuality with young children, which is completely inappropriate? In the modern Western world, hardly anyone gives a shit about anyone's sexuality, aside from the religious nut jobs, the real Bible bashers or followers of the religion of peace, which ironically is the one that's got all the terrorists in it. Maybe they got it wrong. It's not the religion of peace, it's the religion that will blow you to pieces. Allegedly. Again, there's nothing wrong with being queer, but queerness does not belong in the classroom. A class is somewhere for education, not indoctrination. When I was a kid, I didn't even know my teachers' first names, let alone who they shared their genitals with. And what if someone like me, a straight, cis, white man, did the same thing? Imagine if I was a teacher and I began the day, "Good morning, class. Before we begin, I'd like to inform you I'm a heterosexual man, meaning I only like to have sexual intercourse with women who were born with vaginas. And as to date, I have no desire to remove my penis." That would be weird, wouldn't it? But a little later in the same video clip, the mask slips a little and we see just how fucking unhinged this woman is.
Helping students feel welcomed for who they are. I hope that by telling my story, I can make other queer teachers who have gone through similar experiences feel less alone, and that I'm able to use this as an opportunity to say goodbye to my students that I didn't get the chance to say goodbye to because that opportunity was taken away from me by a hateful, miserable person who had too much time on their hands. For us to start, we have to go back a whole year ago to when I was being targeted by hateful extremist groups and really blew up online. Particularly by that one cis lady who was accused of inciting bomb threats against schools, libraries, and hospitals, and who also just got appointed to an advisor position on the Oklahoma Educational State Department's Library Committee, which is a whole nother mess that we're not going to get into right now.
I don't think she should be educating children. I think she should be in a very comfortable room wearing a jacket where the sleeves tie up at the back. And the woman she's making allegations against, that's the woman who runs the Twitter account Libs of TikTok, which incidentally is where I get a lot of my source material. And all that Libs does is, it's an account that posts to Twitter the insane woke TikToks, which is freely available on TikTok. Now, hardline trans activists and the extreme woke far left are gunning for the woman who runs Libs of TikTok, firstly because she's just exposing them for the fucking lunatics that they are, but also, the woman who runs Libs of TikTok is Jewish, and we know how much the far left love a bit of anti-Semitism. So let's move on to another woman with mad staring eyes, explaining that children should have rights, but that parents shouldn't.
And all of this is happening with this infectious idea that's taking over, of this idea of parents' rights, that parents have a right to know. They have a right to know if their child is going by a different name or using different pronouns in school. And the thing that keeps hitting me about this is that parents don't have rights, not parents' rights. Kids have rights. Individuals have rights. We have seen in our legal and justice systems that the decisions that parents make can be legally overridden by their children. Children who are old enough to understand a concept are old enough to provide their own independent consent to that. And if a kid knows what pronouns are, then frankly, they're able to consent to changing their own pronouns, and their parents do not need to be involved in that decision.
In my opinion, until a child reaches adulthood, the child's parents should pretty much know everything that child is doing. The child is their responsibility. And anyone creating an environment where a child can keep secrets from their parents, that's textbook fucking grooming. And we don't let children vote or drive because they're not mature enough. So surely they're not mature enough to make life-altering decisions like what gender they are or what fucking pronouns they need to use. And did you notice the lady was wearing a wrist support? I'm guessing it's because she's been masturbating furiously. She looks like the type who'd finger herself watching herself in the mirror, and when she climaxes, screams her own name. So finally, let's hear from some deranged parents. Now, the couple in this case are a same-sex couple. Of course, there is nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge advocate for LGBT rights. And as I've said before, I am a fan of sapphic ladies, to the point that on Pornhub, the lesbian category, I've completed it.
Hey, babe. When will we let our children choose their gender?
We're not going to let our children choose anything. They just are it, and they'll tell us.
Yeah, they have autonomy. We won't ever make that
We're not going to walk in one day and be like, it is time to choose.
you help me? They'll tell us. We'll leave it up to them.
Without wanting to be overly cruel, the lady with the shorter hair, whom I imagine is the one who wears the strap on in that relationship, but who clearly isn't in control of the relationship, is it just me, or does she come across as a bit, well, slow? The sort of person who, as a teenager, would have had extra time on all of her exams. And as if childhood wasn't confusing enough, letting a child pick its own gender. And from the sound of it, that's a very young child. When are we going to call this out for what it is? It's fucking child abuse. It used to be that parents wanted their children to be upwardly mobile, to have better lives and more opportunities than they did as children. Now it appears we have some parents who just want their kids to be even fucking madder than they are. That's the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. And as ever, thanks for watching. I'm not a parent fuck it, already. Not a parent myself, but I I've got a fucking bad throat today. Featured a truly hideous American supply teacher. Truly hideous. I mean, I'd want danger money to fuck something like that. Where to begin? Well, remember the fucking words then. Queer teachers are coming under attack. There's someone singing down there. I'm now part of a double act. So in the opinion of the ugly tubby bitch, it was no. In my opinion, until a child reaches adult... Fuck it. So finally, let's hear from some... fuck it. I want to be overly... I've just realised that all the people I'm mocking in this video, they're all women. It appears I'm supporting the patriarchy, so, in balance, men can be fucking mental as well.